Okay, everybody, if you give me a minute here, I'm gonna fix this. Let me turn this off. Sorry about that, folks. I'm counting out myself today. This is not my favorite part of this at all. But I gotta get to it and get through it. I'll put my mask on in a minute if the others won't be in here for a minute anyway. So, as promised, I pulled some of the stuff off the wall. But some of it we won't be using. Some of it today I'll probably mention, but I just won't go all the way in depth on this video because what we have to go through is going to be kind of hard for me. Well, not kind of. Kind of is an understatement. I think this is the actual complete entire report and the things that should have came with this thing. I may have some, yeah, well, most I'll get to that. Okay. Now, first, let me show my face and get my mask. Now, because I want everybody to know, you better start being mask conscious. You can think that you can just get that vaccine and it's over with, but it's a whole lot worse coming down the pipe. I ain't gonna touch on it no more, but to each his own. Okay. This video here, let me turn this back. I hate that popped off of there. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, that's fine. Well, we'll pull that up in a minute because I know Video is probably gonna snap off anyway once I start trying to show pictures. But I'm gonna start by saying this pretty much actually started a week before Alice passed away. Okay. It goes back further than that. It's just that they wouldn't do anything to correct what was wrong with her. Just peel after peel after peel after peel. Okay, the whole problem with Alice was that her menstrual cycle wouldn't stop. You know, when I say wouldn't stop, sometimes for 2 months straight. Then it'll go away for a week, maybe 2 weeks sometime, then it's back. It may go for 3 months. Not just always full blown. Don't mean to be gross, but I'm just getting in depth so people know how in touch with what if something went wrong with her that I was, because she, you know, was that kind of person. She wasn't going to tell you. You had to be aware. And so, like I said, it was just so erratic since, like, from my count from 2019, okay, and from what I counted and from backtracking her records, her medical records, I'm correct. It's been going on since at least 2019 that I've been really noticed and aware of that her menstrual cycle was just ran awry. So time went on. They just never did nothing about it, and then finally it just started. Like I said, a week before her death, around August, she went to the doctor on her birthday because she had to go the same time last year to the doctor on her birthday, because I remember her mentioning that. She was like, wow, you know, but she went to the doctor and they had just got so erratic and she had lost so much blood that they scheduled her an emergency DNC at Oshner. Okay. So they scheduled a DNC, you know, took her up there. Of course, COVID, everybody using COVID as an excuse. So, you know, all you could do is just drop them off and just, they wouldn't even let you in the hospital. You had to wait in the parking lot. Only the patients could come in the hospital. Everybody needs some kind of somebody there for support. You know, and this state just used COVID for an excuse. But anyways, so she went to the doctor. I was the one drove her because they made sure that she had a ride home, that she was not driving herself, and that somebody was going to be at the house to take care of her for, you know, a few 3 or 4 weeks, which I already came home from Alabama for that just reason, because Alice, you know, fell ill. So she gets up to Oshner, and they were supposed to do an emergency DNC and give her blood. Okay. She gets there, they give her blood, but they short her on blood. They shorted her, like, I think it was 4 pints. I got the records. We're going to go through, you know, I got a few texts from my daughter. Like I said, I'm not going to call her name because I don't want no trouble from her. I don't want her thinking I'm dragging her into nothing. You know, just let me be. You know, but I will, you know, show the text, and if her name or something, I ain't putting her name out there unless she give me express consent. Now, back to what I was saying. But they short her on blood, and sent her home. Did they give her the emergency DNC? No. When she got there, instead of giving her the emergency DNC, they put, I think she called it a UDI. It's in my records. Okay. I think it's a UDI. It's one of those birth control things. And, you know, when she got home, all she was saying was that they said, well, that would make her period stop. Okay, but what about the 3 pints of blood that you low? You see what I'm saying? What about the 3 pints of blood that you low? So she comes home, and of course, you know, as expected, like they say, she was going to be a little woozy the first 24 to 48 hours, which she was, in my opinion, extra woozy. And she tried to call them doctors and let them know where I need to come in, where da. Had to leave a message. Nobody there to pick the phone up. Nobody there to pick the phone up. Gotta make an appointment. What the little machine tell you. How you make an appointment when it's an emergency? Now you tell me to call you if I have to head back up there to the hospital, but when I call, I got to make an appointment. So anyways, we sitting at the house. 2 days passed, you know, she there, you know, it was not from the way she was behaving after the first 2 days of leaving the hospital. It was like one of her bad days that she was having before all of this really started coming down. Times 2. Now, she couldn't get in the hospital. Then the hurricane came. Laura, I think it was. Yeah. Laura hit, blew right clean through our neighborhood. Looked like that sucker just made a path, came right through on the south side, just wiped out the whole back half and just kept it moving. So we sat there another 2 days, no power. That makes 4 days, you know. So by then it's August 31st. That day on August 31st, the lights came back on though. Okay. You know, and it was hot as heck. But, you know, we was trying to keep cool. You know, I was running to the store, getting ice for her. You know, I kept her pretty cool. I kept that cooler full of ice and kept her ice down. But, you know, it was still hot. But she didn't want to go, you know. I said, let's just go chill out at the damn hotel or something. But, you know, COVID and, you know, and she having these the surgery thing, and you know, so we stayed at the house. So August 31st, that night, you know, I'm sitting in the living room, you know, getting ready. I'm playing my game, you know. So she said, "Well, I'm gonna go put my feet up." I said, "Okay, honey, I'll come back there and check on you in a little bit." You know, I know I'm gonna do. Cause I don't play a lot of video games, but when I do, it'd be late at night, a couple hours. I play Red Dead. That's it. You know, that's my game. That's just it. Back in the West. Anyways, I was up playing the game, and I played till about maybe 12. And I was already sleepy because I get up early every day. Even if I'm off, I'm up early. That's just how I am. So about 12 o'clock, I start shutting it down. And I was going to play a little longer, so I ended up falling asleep on the couch. You know, I was just going to, lay down a little bit and, kind of snap back. But I ended up falling asleep on the couch, which I slept out there most of the time anyway. You know, what is that? Oh, but I looked at my phone after all this had happened, and obviously around 1 o'clock, because I still got the call on my phone. She must have called my phone to let the dogs out, and I didn't answer. And because I had already told her when she got out the hospital, all right, don't get up and let the dogs out. If you need the dogs to go out, if they go to the little door, start barking, just text me or call me, and I'll get up and come let the dogs out, which that's what normally happens if she's not feeling good and don't want to get up in the middle of the night, you know. So just to be safe, I even put a chair in the middle room where the dogs were, in between our room and the bathroom. That's just in case she decided to get up, which I know she probably would have. That's just how she is. I don't care how long dogs whine, she gonna get up and let her dogs out. So I set a chair there at kitty corner by the door, close to the door, going toward the bathroom. That's in case she needed to rest if she got dizzy or something, because I didn't want her to fall. So I must have didn't get up, because the call is there on my phone, because around 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, she must have just gave up because the dogs kept whining and got up and let the dogs out. So she let the dogs out, and so I heard her when she came past, because she kind of bumped the middle door when she came through. And as she was coming through, by the time she made it to where our microwave is and the little tiny fridge, like in between the pot thing, I was getting up off the couch. And she was walking to the door to let Sasha out, because Sasha always lagging. And she said, Sasha, come on, get out the door. And just as she said that, you can see her body starting to like, and I'm already in motion, so I speed up and like get my arms under her, and I actually had to muscle up because her arms just started like wanting to slip through my arms, so I kind of and like let her come down. And so no sooner as she went down, she like her head popped up, and I'm like, Alice, are you okay? And she's like, what happened? What happened? I say, you passed out. I say, do I need to call the ambulance? She say, no, I'm okay. I was just a little dizzy. I just got dizzy. I was letting Sasha out. I say, Sasha never went out. She never made it to the door. And so, anyway, she didn't want to go to the hospital, and it was already 3 o'clock, and I'm at her. I'm like, Alice, come on, please, let's go to the hospital. And I'm finna call the ambulance. And she getting worked up. I was like, well, it's too late. We'll just go in the morning when it's daylight. I'm like, okay, well, getting smart. I'm okay. 6 o'clock ain't far away. I'm already up. I get up normally around 3, like I said, 3 anyway. So I stays up. I help her to her room, of course, and went to her chair. That's what she loved to sleep at, because there's something about laying down. She couldn't lay down no more because her back hurt so bad. She always bought her a recliner, though. She loved sleeping in a recliner. So even when I'm back there, I was sleeping in the bed and she was still sleeping in the recliner. So I would just most of the time fall asleep on the couch playing my game. And then so she goes back there, I get her in a chair, I check over again, make sure she was okay. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go get me some coffee and turn the TV on because there's always some news on CNN. Turn the news on and I'll be checking on you. Oh, honey, just, try to get you some rest. I'm gonna be fine. It'll be all right. Like, nah, because we going in the morning. Oh, I know, I know. So I went on, left her alone, made me some coffee. Sat there, watched TV, checked on her. I could hear stirring sometimes, I'll go check and sometimes I call to her, make sure she okay. So eventually 3 o'clock rolls around. Well, I mean 6 o'clock, because like I said, it was only a little 3 hour wait. I know she wasn't gonna get right up at 6 o'clock because she's not up in the morning kind of person, and normally here you go to the hospital at 6 o'clock, you're gonna be sitting there at 12 anyway. So, you know, anyway, she gets up finally around 9 because I could hear her really stirring around back there. So I peeks around the thing. I say, "Hey, so you woke, huh?" I say, you ready to get up and get ready and start going?" I said, "Well, just give me a minute because I just woke up." I say, "Well, how you feel?" "I feel okay, just a little dizzy." I say, "Well, I'm finna go, make me some coffee or watch some news, but I'm gonna come back here and check on you. And, you need to start getting rest so we can, call these people and do what we gotta do, or just go to the hospital." So it took about maybe 2 hours before we left because her mom ended up calling. See, that's the part that really chaps my ASS. Because, see, the morning Alice died, she had just talked to her mother. Just talked to her mother. Now, I would like for somebody to just think about what I just said to them. Now, I would really like to know if anybody could even think how a parent would feel talking to their child the morning that they died and they just talked to them and it didn't sound nothing like what they talking about. Like, she didn't sound like nothing was wrong. And then call hours later to tell this person their child is dead, their baby daughter, and you just heard her talking to her parents. You just spoke to her mother through the phone. And here you are hours later calling me, telling me my daughter's dead. Huh. And again, wonder why I'm fighting so hard. Because, see, I'm a parent too. And the way this happened as a parent, I don't care about what nobody say. Yeah, I know that there's forgiveness, da 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 da. But as a parent, you would want to know. Aside from the pictures that I'm going to reveal to you today, if this was your wife or your daughter, you would want to know what happened. Now you got somebody over here saying something totally different from what y'all saying, but it looks closer to what these pictures look like. Yeah, I want some answers too. Well, that would be me. Because, see, that's why I'm here. Period. And see, the sad thing about all this is, I'm going to get back to when I call 911. Because, see, we right there at the front door. Because see, right after she called her mother is when it all started going down. See, that's the bitter part of it. Believe it or not. Having to look in those people's eyes and tell them Alice is gone. Are you kidding me? This is Alice we talking about. I read something on the internet today. Not the internet, on Facebook. It was a person that I know. Again, I'm not going to be calling nobody's name that don't give me authorization to use their name. But this was a person that I used to work with on one of their posts. And the question was, if you could hug anybody in heaven right now, who would you hug? I already know who I will hug, and I done lost a lot of dear people to me. My honey. Just one more. And I'll be at least partial away at peace. Just one hug. Just one hug. And it just broke my heart when I started reading the comments. And there was this lady that commented and said that she would hug her daughter. That her daughter left here at 19 years old. 19 years old. And that's been 30 years ago. And she still said it feels like yesterday. And you think I'm not going to try to seek justice for this woman? She is somebody's daughter too. And I know her parents. Good people. See, they the kind of people that make me know that not all white people are racist. Not all people let their personal views get in the way of their actions. But to hear what that lady said, that really struck a chord in me. Because, see, I hate to have to verbally say again and again what I saw happen to Alice, because it was so graphic. But some things are necessary. And after reading that post, that really gave me the push I needed to be able to break those pictures out again and be able to physically, I mean, they burned in my head, but to physically see them, there is no way. But anywho, so she talking to her mom on the phone. Like I said, I even spoke to Miss Kern through the phone. Hey, Grandma, how you doing? You know, so I let them have a little conversation. I went back in the front, just chilling, watching the news, peeking back here and there. I can hear her talking half the time when I hear it that way. So she finally started hanging up. I went back there. I said, okay, you ready to start getting ready? And she was like, well, I'm kind of hungry. I said, well, what do you want to eat? I said, you want me to make you some raviolis? I said, yeah, that sounds good. I'll try to eat some raviolis. So I went and got the raviolis, got them warm, brought them to her. And I said, well, here, you eat your raviolis, and I'm going to go. She said, well, when I'm done eating my raviolis, I'm going to go get in the shower. And then I was like, wait a minute. Like, we already dizzy. We ain't going to do the shower thing. I'm going to go get our wash thing, because we got little tubs. Because I done worked all over the planet, got all kind of different things. And did all kind of jobs. Can't do anything. Anyways, so I told her, I said, I'm gonna go get you something and I help you wash up, and because I don't think getting in the shower is a good idea, because you know what, if you get this in there, get too hot or something, fall, pass out. And of course she put up a little stink, and I'm like, you just can't get in the shower, Alice. And she got kind of upset, and she was started kind of tooting up, meaning crying. Tears started coming out. Talking about she just want to get in the shower. You know, it's been so hot. She couldn't shower because the lights was on. And I'm like, well, we're going to do this and it'd be all right. And then she sat there, got herself together. And I say, well, you wash your top half and I'm going to go give me some coffee while you doing your eating and washing your top half. And when I come back, I help you wash the bottom half, you know, clean up so we can just get you to the doctor. We can worry about that later. Okay, she agreed. I left. And by the time, I think it's maybe 10 minutes passed. By now, it's rolling around to be maybe what, 12 o'clock? You know, with all the talking to her mom and, you know, communicating with her about going. Rolled on to be about 12 o'clock. So I came back there. I said, okay, you ready for me to help you clean up? She said, well, I think I got to go to the bathroom. I was like, well, let me, you know, get this little potty chair here because I had one of those and just use that and I go just pour it out. And she's like, well, no, I think I got to go do number two. So I said, well, here, let me help you to the bathroom. So she went to stand up, but she got dizzy. It took about maybe 2 or 3 steps, and she, you know, was like, whoa, I think I'm passing out. And I backed it back up to her chair, helped her get back in her chair, and set her down. And I was like, well, are you okay? I let her gather herself. She was like, yeah, I just need to sit here and catch my breath. And she breathed like that. And I say, well, you know, you want to wait or, you know, what do you want to do? And she said, well, let me catch my breath a little bit. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to go get Joe if you're going to try again because, you know, I don't want you to fall. If you pass out, I got some help. And then she said, okay, I'll just wait till you come back with Joe. And so I came, went and told Joseph. See, that's another thing they just act like. They act like I was the only one, the way the reports write up, the way everybody's mindset is like I was the only one there. You see what I'm saying? It's not my fault that the other eyes that witnessed what I saw weren't as graphic as I was. But yet they agree with what I say. Anywho, so I go get Joe. I tell Joe, I say, Joe, come help me take your mom to the bathroom because she said she got dizzy. I was trying to help her and I don't want her to pass out. So come give me a hand. He was like, okay. He got up, followed me in there. So we went back and I said, you ready to try again? She was like, yeah, well, I'll go and try. And so we went. She put her arms out. We helped her up. He was on her right side. I was on her left side. And we started walking. Because I had a hand first because I was in front of her. And then I kind of put my arm around her, under her armpit, and had her other arm, my hand holding her hand. And we was walking. That's when I felt how cold she was. When I say she was cold, she was like she was radiating cold, like she was a refrigerator. I'm talking about when you touch her, the warmth from your hand would start being cold. That kind of cold. So I told her, I said, Alice, you know, I panicked instantly because it shocked me. I said, Alice, why are you so cold? And it was not cold in that house. It was not cold. So she replied to me, well, it's probably because I've been sitting under that fan and been sweating. And I'm like, nah, not this cold. But we study in motion. And after about 5 or 6 steps, we got to the top step. Because there are 2 stairs. Let me see, 1, 2. Well, you got to take 3 steps. So the 3rd step, you're on the top, on the middle room floor. So we kind of briefly stop at the steps. I told her, I said, Alice, just don't fly up the stairs like you always do. We're going to take them one at a time. We're going to go one, rest, go one, rest. If you feel good, we're going to keep going. She was like, okay. She laughed. So we went up the first one. She was fine. When we got to the 2nd step, she was fine. The minute she put her foot on the 3rd step, you can feel her like when she pushed up and came up level on the 1st step, you can feel her weight just start to go down even before she said she felt like she's finna pass out. Because while she was saying, felt like she was going to pass out, I was telling Joseph, let's get her to the chair, let's get her to the chair. And so we hurried and scampered and sat her in the chair. She sat in the chair and took 2 big breaths and said, whew, I can barely catch my breath. And she was breathing just like that. At first, she said, whew. And told Joseph, she said, I'm so thirsty. Can you go give me some water? And Joseph went and got her some water, and I stood there by. I said, well, are you okay, honey? She said, yeah, I'm just so thirsty, and I need to catch my breath. I said, well, I'm finna call the ambulance. Well, just hold on, honey. I just catch my breath. And as soon as Joseph came back with the water and handed her the water, she took a couple swigs of water. She had the water in her hand like this and set the water down and was like, and just passed out. And I ran over to her and like, you know, because the way I had the chair, she was like braced up on the wall in the corner. But the water just was like, you know, still in her hand, but resting on her leg. And I went to her and grabbed, when I touched her face, she, and like she was looking around like she was lost. And I'm like, honey, are you okay? And I told Joseph, I said, come stand by your mom. I'm finna call the ambulance. So I got my phone. I started calling 911, but of course that Rudy Poo, Rick Raggedy roster house we stayed in, because of all the trees, they say, is why the reception is so bad around there. So I told Joseph, come stand by his mama. You know, I'm standing there like a dumb butt and can't get through. So I tell him, I said, well, I'm finna go outside. Because I remember I got that call on my phone too. Because I called 911 twice. The first time it really didn't go through because it hung right up. Because I told my son, I said, well, I'm finna go outside, call 911, but don't stay by. Don't let her fall out the chair. And I went outside, called 911. This was at 12:27. Called 911. Right away, the lady picked the phone up. You know, 911, you know, how can I help you? And I told her right away, I said, I need an ambulance sent to 401 Riverbend Drive for my wife, Alice Christina Henderson. She passed out and she's having difficulty breathing. She's breathing very rapidly. She's very, very cold. And she has a bluish tint. And she's passing in and out of consciousness. So the lady started asking me, you know, well, you know, how old was she? You know, was she on any medication, any illnesses? You know, I answered everything. I told her about the medicine. I said, well, she have a whole horde of medicines. I don't know what they all are, but I can run right in and get them. Say, no, 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 just give them to the paramedics when they get there. So I'm talking to them, and she's saying, well, she told me, she said, well, the ambulance is en route. I'm going to keep you on the line to get some information from you. But they should be there in about 7 minutes, or 5 to 7 minutes is what she said. So I'm standing there again, like I said, giving her the information, and I'm telling her, I say, well, I hope they hurry, because I can hear my son say, because the lady asked me, was she conscious, when she got to the question, well, was she conscious? And right then, my son was like, she passed out again. I say, well, she passed out again, and she passed out right before I called you. So she been in and out of consciousness. And she was like, well, I said, I hope they hurry. And she was like, well, they say they're nearing the corner of South Fifth and Hamilton. I say, right then, I can see them. They pulled right up to the corner. I said, yes, ma'am, I can see them now. They just pulled up. And then she said, okay, well, they'll take it from there, and you have a nice day. And I was like, thank you, for helping. I'm thinking they coming to do their thing, help my boo-boo. Soon as this lady hung the phone up, lights and sirens went off. Bloop. About 5 seconds after the phone call hung up, the ambulance first finally decided to make that right turn on Hamilton Street. I'm standing in the front yard now, looking right at them. They come creeping up Hamilton Street, because Hamilton is directly in front of my house. You can't miss me from Hamilton Street. I'm out there waving my hand, letting them know where I'm at. They just creeped on down Hamilton Street, took their own freaking sweet time. Got to the corner of River Bend, paused a second, made that right turn, kept on past my house, parked right on the side of the ditch, across the next door to my neighbor's house. I'm just going to call him RM for right now. And so they parked right past his driveway. And I'm standing there in the middle of the yard like, what the, I'm thinking they parked pulling up the back end. The van just stops. So another maybe 20, 30 seconds pass, and the driver jumps out. And like I said, no lights, no sirens, driver jumps out. Damn near fell in the ditch because he parked right there on the edge. Driveway clear open. Could have backed that thing right on up to the front door. Anyways, like I said, the driver finally pops out. He gets out, starts putting his little gloves on, walking toward the back of the ambulance. Like I said, he almost fell in the ditch. By the time he make it to the back of the ambulance, paramedics still hadn't got out the car. Old Schamberger still had his ass sitting in the ambulance. Finally, he come moseying around the passenger side of the ambulance. I don't know what they were saying, because like I said, that was too far away for me to hear what they were saying. And besides that, he had a respirator on his face. Okay? So I know he was saying something, because I know they was talking to each other. And so as they walking up closer, he was offered gloves by the driver. Now, when they walk up there, they didn't walk up there in a rush. They didn't walk up there with any equipment. They didn't remove any equipment from the ambulance. They just come strolling up to my front door. Not even a stethoscope on their persons. What kind of ambulance people don't even have a name tag on? Like you can't find out who they are. See, just too many red flags. Well, anyways, they come moseying up to the front door. The driver offers Scheinberger a pair of gloves. He looks at the driver and tells the driver, oh, I won't need them. Puts his hands in his pockets. Oh, we're going to go through it in detail. I'm just trying to get through it right now. Because I know once I finally say it again, I don't mind leaving it. Because it's there again and again and again. So anyway, they come strolling on closer. So Schamberger, hands in pockets, asked me, what's the problem? What do you mean, what's the problem? I just called 911 and told the dispatcher what your purpose was to come here, and you come asking me what's the problem, with nothing in on your persons, nothing removed from the ambulance, nothing. So I'm telling them, well, my wife, I'm in a panic, like my wife is inside, she can't breathe, she's been passing out, she's very pale, got a bluish tint, she needs help. I stayed out there with them for about another 2 or 3 minutes going through what I had just told the 911 operator. With his hands in his pockets, leaned up against my front porch post. Now the whole time I'm trying to, now you asking me questions, but now when I'm answering them, you just expelling air like you just so frustrated in hearing what I'm talking about. So what are you asking me questions for then? So after we stood there with that, I just, like I told him, well, she's inside. You know, you questioning me like I'm lying about it. All you got to do is come inside. Come do your job. See, these are the things that I feel I should have said to him, and things would have turned out different. Because had he left sooner, maybe my baby would have been alive. You see what I'm saying? So I don't have no mercy for these people. So there's a lot I wish I had said. But see, my concern was her at the time. I have never been so afraid in my life, and I'm not a scary person. But my baby needed help. And that's my only concern. I didn't know what this guy's problem was or what his deal was. But he came there with an attitude. So he finally, as I'm telling him she's inside, I'm walking that way, and they, of course, he, no, this, that, and the other, and made his way up the stairs. Him and the driver first, me leading the way. So we walks on in the living room, make that little diagonal to get to the hallway, which the bathroom is, you're looking right smack into the bathroom when you getting ready to make that right turn where Alice was. Because when you make that right off that right, is the hallway going right in the little room. It's just right here is where she was. Not far at all. Not far at all. So we come on around, like I said, driving first. I went in, replaced where my son was. He was standing there by his mom. See, he can tell you how long it took them to come in there. He know how long he was standing there by his mama. He know how many times she passed out while he was standing there. But see, that's the story for him to tell. See, I was outside. But I'm sure she passed out more than 2 times. And the length of time it took them to get in there to even lay eyes on her. So like I said, I entered the room first. I took my son's spot. He backed up 2 or 3 steps behind me. I'm standing by his mother. Literally, by this time, she had a full-blown you know, trying to get over that hill and just weak. She just done pretty much just, her eyes are open, but she just kind of slumped. Because I was actually holding her from like falling forward. Because I could feel her weight. And so he walks in, hands in pockets, driver standing just off to my right here. Alice is sitting in a chair just right on my left, making me face Schamberger, who is leaning still, hand in pockets, with his right shoulder up against the door frame. And starts barking at my wife. What's the problem? Dude, what's the problem? So I jumps in and tell them, well, she can't breathe. I just told you that out there on the front porch. When did it start? Looking right at her. I'm like, I said it started this morning. He shot me a look like, quit talking to me. I'm not talking to you kind of look. Asked her another question. So I answered it again. So I asked him, I was like, why are you asking her questions I already gave you the answers to? Well, I need her to answer. I'm like, why? She can barely breathe. Can you please give her some oxygen? Well, I think it's just a panic attack. Hands never left his pockets. Hands never left his freaking pockets. So I'm standing there debating with him. You know, can she please get some oxygen? Alice passed out, sitting in that chair 4 times. And had 3 seizures. And I know this because the driver the one diagnosed it. And every time the driver requested, it's not that she wasn't, somebody didn't at least try to give her oxygen. It's that Schamberger blocked her from getting oxygen. Because the driver asked him 3 times, should I go get the oxygen? Now, hold on a minute. I think it's just a panic attack. I think she's going to be all right. Now, this whole time, like I said, I debated with him there, with her sitting in that chair, for a good 20 minutes, easy. 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 And if you want to throw in from the time that they arrived and include the time she sat in that chair, that's 20 minutes flat out, period. And some change. But we're going to go through the whole timeline. Because don't think I can't, it ain't, don't think I don't have the timeline to the minute, folks. To the minute. And not just my word, documented. So anyway, he's standing there debating on whether or not she need oxygen or not, me and him. And so, like I said, she passed out 4 times sitting in that chair. Because on the 4th time, she had she passed out 4 times and had 3 seizures. But on the 3rd seizure, which was the 4th and final time, or the 4th time she passed out, I told the driver, come feel how cold she is. And he came over and put the back of his freaking hand on Alice. Because like I said, she was having a seizure then, and he got close to her ear as to listen and say, yeah, I think she's seizing again. But did nothing. But did nothing. And then Alice finally snapped back again. But then that time she was so frantic, like she wanted to get away. It was like all I could say, she was trying to get up out there. She was fighting so hard to get up out that chair, and she was holding her chest as like she just couldn't bear it anymore. And the driver panicked and said, "Well, I'm finna go get the stretcher." So he struck out to go get the stretcher. Schamberger still, hands in his pockets, got the nerve now to start screaming at Alice. "I'm gonna need you to calm down. You're just making it worse on yourself. You're just having a panic attack." I tells him, "Look, don't be barking at her. She barely can breathe. You won't give her no oxygen, and now you got the nerve to start barking at her. So don't be barking at her." And I know that pissed him off. But now to sit there and tolerated your behavior all this time and didn't crack your head open. And you got the audacity to try to have an attitude because I'm checking you because the way you talking to her during her medical emergency. This man must have lost his mind. And so, like I said, we was backwards and forward trying to get her some oxygen for a good little minute. Like I said, I got the timeline. We're going to go through it. But then, like I said, the driver went and got the stretcher. And he needed help getting it inside. He didn't even know how to collapse the thing, obviously, because he called to Schamberger to come help him. And Schamberger, that was the only reason he left with his hands out of his pockets. So he left to go help him get the stretcher. So I'm standing there right then, though. I was so mad after he had screamed at Alice. And I ain't going to even lie. And here it is right here. And I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't have been able to find as much evidence as I had. I used to keep this thing right here in my living room by the front door. Like I said, I don't believe in guns. I didn't say I didn't believe in protecting myself. I said I don't believe in guns. And see, when Schamberger went out there to help William Bruletti get the stretcher, right then I was going to tell my son, because I looked right at him. I was going to tell my son, "Here, come hold your mama up." I was on my way to go get my tomahawk in because I had enough of Schamberger's behavior. He was that unruly. And the worst is yet to come. But right as I was finna tell my son to come hold his mother up, Alice passed out again. And it was a pretty bad one. And when she came to, she was even more frantic than she was before. I even called to him and asked, "Do they need any help?" No, we got it. They out in the front room trying to figure out how to get the stretcher to make that 90-degree turn, then come and make another 90 right away. Now we're talking about an 8-foot stretcher. Okay. Knowing she's sitting by the door, I tell them, I say, "Do you need us to bring her out there so to make it easier?" No. We got it. We got to move her anyway, stupid. You can't get the stretcher in the room unless she moved the chair anyway, so why not let's move her forward? It was the same distance to the living room than to walk her all the way across the room she was in, going backwards. So, sure enough, they sitting out there playing with the stretcher another 5 or 6 minutes, at least. Finally, Scheinberger come up with the idea of pushing the stretcher up at a 90-degree angle to make it shorter, so to make that turn to get in the room. Okay, they made the first turn. Now they got to get past Alice to make the last turn. So what we got to do? We got to stand her up, walk her the same distance she could have walked to the living room backwards in the room she in, because why? They got the stretcher in the doorway now. So we moves her across the room. They finally rustle the stretcher inside the room, and she's sitting in the chair waiting on them to get the thing in place. So they get the thing in place. Schamberg on the back side of the stretcher, closer to the wall. So me and my son stand Dallas up. I'm on her, I think I was still on her left side. And my son didn't help then, because it was just me and Alice. But I had her up pretty good, because I had her around her waist and had her arm. And so I'm walking her toward the stretcher, and she said, I feel like I'm finna pass out again. And I started walking her toward the stretcher. Before she can even get close enough to the stretcher, this sucker grabs her by her, like the left side of her chest, and slams her down on the stretcher. I mean, when I say slams her down, like he body slammed her. Her neck and crap flung down. Her neck landed on the bed, folding her in half at the chest. She went down on the bed and screamed her back. Now, where she got that burst from, that had to be painful, because when she popped up, her eyes rolled back in her head and she passed out. And she went back because her leg was still hanging off the stretcher. She went back and she actually hit her head on the rail. And she was laid back like that, and she started shaking again. The driver was on the head side of the stretcher, and he looked over and like kind of put his hand on the head and said, she's seizing again. And right then, Schamberger, because me and him got into it, right? Right after he said she was seizing, I asked, what are you doing? See, why did you just slam her down like that? You don't want her to fall, do you? You didn't have to push her like that. Now, you talking about act of God? I'm going to tell y'all something. At that moment, now I was already ready to just tomahawk this guy to pieces just for speaking to her raw. Do you know what it took not to snap at that minute? Now, you don't think, see, most people don't know me. But for the people that know me, they probably wondering, like, why is he not all over the news for just obliterating this guy? Really? So I call it an act of God. It must was meant for me to catch these people. It must have been meant for me to catch these people. So, like I said, he body slammed Alice down to the stretcher. We got into it. The driver reached over and said, she's seizing again. By that time, Schamberger was making his way around the thing, around the stretcher, and I was helping Alice get right on the stretcher, because that's what I was telling him. You don't even have on the stretcher right. And he come around, puts a little thing on her finger, you know, a little oxygen meter that beeps when they put it on your finger, when a little black screen lights up on the side of the bed. Never illuminated once. Never beep once. like I'm an idiot. Now, certainly, when you turn it on, there's a record of it. It's got to give off some kind of report to somebody. So anyway, he puts the little thing on Alice's finger, and of course she tried to get up off the thing to get right. And I'm trying to help her. I'm down at near the foot trying to help her get her leg up, and this sucker comes around, forces her down, and put his elbow in her chest and start trying to strap her down as tight as he can. And she's screaming bloody murder because she didn't get to raise up and scoot herself up in the bed. I was trying to help her get right. But now, before she can even get there, he come force her back down. And she tried to get up again, and he had to put his elbow in her chest, reaching over, getting the straps. And she, you could tell she was in distress. So yes, I swept his fat ass out the way, and I pulled that strap off of her and let her sit up and get right. But by that time, he had squeezed more air out of her. She passed out again, went down, bam. So me and him got into it a little bit more because the way he elbowing her in her chest. And so he finally started strapping her in, still tighter than it should have been. Never dropped the bed down once. Now they had to fold it up in a 90-degree angle to get it in there. But his report said he had it relaxed out. I'm going to prove that's a lie too. Because see, like I told you, that picture on the wall, I built one. I got the video of me using it. I sure do. I'm going to show you that's a lie. Now see, it don't take no rocket scientist to see all of this. You see what I'm saying? It don't take a rocket scientist. It sure doesn't. So anyways, I finally get her strapped down in the bed. Of course, she all in a funky position. Her neck, her head is so awkward that her chin is still damn near tucked in her chest like this. Now you already in breathing distress. Why would you put a person in that position? So rather than help roll her out, Schamberger heads for the door after putting the last strap on. So the driver at the head of the bed, like I said, so I jumped in, F him. I took the foot. So we wheeled on out the door. Of course, she having a hard time because the way she on that stretcher, but that's the only way to get it out. That's the only way to get it out. So we finally get it out to the living room. This dude, I'm trying to make the turn, and he was, by the time we made it out to the dining room, he's standing by the refrigerator. That if you want to say help, that's the only help he contributed. As we coming around, his stinking ass left arm rested slightly on the stretcher, and he pushed it around the corner with his foot. Minute we turn the corner, he walks off, go out the front door. What the hell? Of course, I'm still manning the tower, because Alice was still coherent. Because I remember when we was leaving out, she even commented on that vent and that room was closed. She even commented on the vent. So she was lucid because she was talking to me. But anyway, we came on through the living room. Schamberger hit the front porch. Got over the front door threshold. Got out on the front porch. He just out there like an idiot. Just standing in the front yard. So the driver asked him, well, could you let it down for us? So he comes forward, let it down so we can get it off the edge of the porch. And of course, he didn't want to help because, you know, you got to have muscle on the front end to the front legs clear. So, of course, I jumped down, man the towel, pull my boo on out, legs fall. This sucker heads toward the ambulance. The minute the wheels hit the ground, this sucker head toward the ambulance. Driver gets down. The minute we start moving, the stretcher almost flipped over. Almost flipped right the freak over in the front yard. So I caught her, flipped her back. I'm like, man, you ain't gonna even help roll her to the ambulance. You won't help her, and you won't even help roll her to the ambulance. So me and the driver, we got her moving, rolling on across the front yard, 60 feet to the ambulance. Get out to the edge of the road. Instead of helping us, he up there opening the ambulance doors, getting in. Getting in. So like I said, we get to the edge of the driveway again. Damn near spilt over. Because it was a quick stop. That one caught the driver off guard. But I jumped right in on that one. Because see, that would have been terrible. Because she would have definitely hit the pavement. At least in the yard, it would have been on the grass. But my thinking when she started tipping over, this is the concrete. So I righted her, got up on the street, roll on in the ambulance, and she crying, and she had been crying already. She couldn't breathe. She would try to talk, and she couldn't. Just and tears would just roll. It was just terrible. And this man knows she needed oxygen. Knows she needed oxygen. Something so freaking simple, and he refused it to her. Just because he hateful. So like I said, we got into the ambulance. Instead of assisting her like he should have, he inside the ambulance, left hand on the wall, right hand in his pocket, staring at me and my son. Now he been mean mugging me and my boy the whole time we were there. You should have saw his face when he first walked in. And I guess saw Alice was white. And we had a son. So what business is it of yours? You got a wife and you don't even want her. Pervert. But like I said, he looking at me and my boy mean mugging us. I'm like, can you please give my wife some oxygen? He just standing, got this. Man. He just had this look on his face like, why are you disgusted? What did we do to make you feel like this? We don't even know you, buddy. So after about 2 minutes of arguing with this guy, are you going to help my wife? Or why are you just looking at me? His back is turned to her. She is in the ambulance. Now, I'm asking her, well, why ain't you having my wife? Can you please give my wife some oxygen? Right then, she passed out again. Driver says she's seizing again. Looks at me. She's having a seizure. And doing nothing. Talking to me as if he's answering a question. The question was, why aren't you helping my wife? I didn't ask you what's wrong with my wife. I've watched what happened to her already and know what's wrong with her. My question to him was, why wasn't he helping my wife? But his answer to me was, she having a seizure. So I asked him, I said, why are you doing this to her? Are you racist or something? Oh, now you want to come to life and pop up off the wall, stamping up and down the ambulance. I can't believe you just asked me that. I don't believe you said that to me. There ain't a racist bone in my body. I'm going to need you to step away from my ambulance so I can assist my patient. I'm like, you haven't assisted her the whole time you've been here. What are you going to do now? Why won't you give her some oxygen? I'm not leaving till you give her some oxygen. I'm going to need you to step away from my door. So right there, my son pulls me back because he told the driver, again, close my doors. And the driver went to like he was closing the door. My son pulls me back and tell the son, and my son told him, man, get the F out of here. We don't want to hear that. Wow, this cat went into overdrive. And wonder why they don't have cameras in Arcadian ambulances. So you don't get to see people clown like that. Wow, did he really start showing his ass? Yeah. So anyway, the doors closed. I'm just like flabbergasted. Oh, and when those words rolled out, I kind of just cringed. But I'm going to leave that alone because there's a lot I wanted to say to him at the time too. You know, but I stood there in the middle of the road. Then after just looked like instantaneously, a sheriff deputy drove up, stopped, and asked me, was everything okay? I said, no. I said, I called the ambulance for my wife. These guys been here at my house almost an hour. The head paramedic refused to give my wife any oxygen. If that's what she needs, he just standing there act like he got a problem with me and my son for some reason, and we did nothing to him. So the deputy said, you mind if I talk to them? Would you step away from the vehicle? So I'm like, sure. I went and stood on the porch, away from the vehicle. He wasn't there 2 minutes. Scurried back to his little patrol car. On the way, they take care of her now. You can meet her at Conway. That's what he said, Conway. I didn't even know she went to St. Francis. So then till Marie Knight came to the door. They told me to meet at Conway. Because that's where her insurance was from anyway. Well, that's what her insurance covered. I'll get into all that, how she ended up, because she was at St. Francis. Not even 6 months before her death. They had just changed her healthcare provider. So he gets to his car and tells me he got to go around the corner for a little while. He'll be for a little bit. That was it. I've got to go around the corner for a little bit, but I'll be back. He left. Ambulance sat there another maybe 3 minutes. So I'm standing in the middle of the road. I done walk back out here. Because I'm walking toward the sheriff deputy. I'm like thinking he finna regulate and do something. And he's skirting out. So by the time he said what he had to do and drive off, I done made my way out to the street. Ambulance started pulling off. Slowly. No lights. No sirens. Just gone. When they turned down Henderson Street, 1 block. Went back up, and that's the main road, 5th Street. Same road they came down when they came to my house. Make that left, head on out. So as they're going down the road, which is now at 107, because I got a telephone call when I called my daughter. Called my daughter. I told my daughter, like I said, I don't want to use her name. Lord forbid. Such a butthead. Anyway, I told my daughter, I said, Cleo, crap. I said, your mother is on her way to the hospital. You need to get in contact with me as quick as possible because it's not looking good. So hung up the phone. I'm just like, I'm so wired up right now. Just having to talk about this just makes me. People just don't realize. See, I'm not one to do a whole bunch of talking. If I say I'm gonna do something, I try to be true to that. So I'm just trying to deal with this and get through this part. Because I hate this part. Because there's so much I wish I would have done that's within my character. You know? I just feel like she was counting on me to be me that time. I'd rather spend 1,000,000 years in prison. I'd rather be dead. I'd take the death penalty for mine. So I'm on my way in the house. I'm just like, all I can think about, I got to go get her stuff, get her clothes, so when she come home. So I go back inside. On the way in, my neighbor, who was sitting out there, but this is not RM. I'm gonna call him JB. They're on the other side of me. They're the other neighbors. But on my way in, he spoke to me and said, "Everything okay?" I told him, I said, "Man, no, it's not looking good." Now I got into a little bit of how them guys was. He commented on what he saw out there, while they was there. Because see, I remember talking to him when I called the ambulance. After, days after. Even even the conversation I'm telling you now, I had even forgotten he was sitting on the porch. It was just so hectic. But anyways, I told him I got to get going because I got to get on up there. So I'm on my way now because I was just like in passing. So I made it on in the house in a hurry to get my clothes on because we was already still in our PJs when all this jumped off. So I'm skirting in the house, go get my clothes, go get her some clothes, get her phone, maybe take her medicine up there because I had that bag already trying to give it to him. I offered him her medicine 3 times and he refused to even look at her medicine. So uh, I'm scurrying around grabbing stuff. Couldn't have been no more than 10 minutes. Because I got my clothes on pretty fast because, I really don't care what I look like. I don't dress for nobody. And my honey took me just fine that way. She preferred me not dressing up. And so I got her stuff. I was gathering her things. It was just boom, 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 boom on the door. So I went to the front door, swung the front door because I'm already like jittery in a panic. And there's a lady standing there and 3 guys. So I'm like, yes. And the lady's like, how you doing? My name is Marie Knight. I'm with the Monroe Code Enforcement, and this is the West Monroe Police Department and the Fire Marshal. Somebody here left in an ambulance today, not too long ago. I was like, yes, my wife. Why? And she said, well, I'm here to let you know that they didn't make it. I'm like, what do you mean she didn't make it? Well, her heart stopped and they couldn't get it started back, and she just didn't make it. I'm like, no, that ain't what happened. And I just lost it, man. I lost it right there at the door. I lost it. I'm like, right there, he killed my baby. Dude, this cat came in my house and killed my baby. Period. He did that. So I'm standing there telling them what happened and whatnot. I'm standing there telling them what happened and whatnot. And the one little guy, he was a younger cop. Both of them pretty young, but the one standing kind of behind him. And I'm telling Marie Knight that, nah, this guy just came in, refused to give my wife oxygen. They stay here almost an hour just torturing her, watching her pass in and out of consciousness, have seizures. And she started telling me, well, I'm sure they did all they could. Did you just hear what I said to you? And she said that to me. And just then, the West Monroe police officer was actually snickering. Can you believe that? Not making a report, snickering. The other three shot him a look. I looked right at him, asked him, are you actually laughing at me? And he walks his ass out into the middle of the yard, and she continued running her lips. Well, like I said, I'm sure they did all they can, but you need to call the coroner's office, and you can meet her pick her up at St. Francis, and but you really need to call the coroner's office, and they'll take you from there. And they were out, gone. Like I ain't said nothing to these people. So they skirt out. I'm just like, now, I'm en route first to go take my wife all her stuff to bring her home. And now, what do you mean she's gone? So of course I think about the sheriff's deputy that was at the house. So I tell my son, I'm finna go see if I can catch that sheriff's deputy. I'm trying to make a report. Came across him. Sure did. Sure did. Dropping the letter off at the post office. So I gets up behind him, blow my horn. He play like he know who I was. So I get right up on him, blow my horn, and get him to stop. I get out the car, I tell him, yeah, you were just at my house. I reported the ambulance driver would refuse to give my wife oxygen. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I said, well, my wife, they just told me my wife died in that ambulance. Oh, really? She died. Oh, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Drove off. For real. So I get back in my car, man. Go back to my house. Tell my son, man, we gotta get in contact with Cleo. We can't just call on the phone with this man. We're going to have to go up there. And we got in the car, went up to her job. Of course, broke the news to her. She took it hard, has been taking it hard, and probably going to forever take it hard. Because, see, she saw what I'm going to show you tonight. So we get to a job, like I said, told her what happened, and a little bit what went on at the house. Well, mostly what went on with the house. So we had to go to the hospital and, claim my mom and do the paperwork and whatnot. I've never had death this close to me. You always hear people dying. You just show up to the funeral. But when it comes to just somebody just snatched out of your life and you just not prepared, you got no burial insurance, no freaking savings. Yeah, you make that money, but you ain't got no savings. You ain't got no burial. You always talked about it, but that's the subject nobody don't want to deal with. Me personally, you doing that every day anyway. You may as well talk about it. You're doing that every day anyway. Then you got dumbasses like Schamberger pushing the envelope even further. So we get to the hospital, daughter in tow. Of course, they made us wait at the front door like they don't know we coming to pick up Alice. Had to tell them twice who we there for. I'm like, she was dropped off here by an Arcadian ambulance. Twice. They finally showed us in to room 20. Now that there's just so many painful parts of that to just be looking at that door. So Alice was on the other side of it. Oh crap. Damn it. I just can't help it. And I'm oh man. So we walked in and immediately I couldn't see her face. Well, I couldn't see the right side of her face. You could only see the left side from the way the door opened. So I went in first. And I, of course, came up on her left side. And so as I got closer is when I started noticing from here all the way across Alice's face was discolored. All down her neck was discolored. And when I finally got in full view, I just lost it. They say the Lord tests you, and I wonder was that, because you don't know. I don't mind getting at a person. And it even amazes me. I think I was just so in shock, and this just was like, I was like, Lord, what? How much worse is this gonna get? You know, what did you do to her? So I asked the orderly, you know, what happened to her face? First thing out her mouth, oh, I'm just an orderly. What was her word? I want to be exact. Yeah, I'm just an orderly. I don't know nothing. Let me get the nurse for you. I'm like, well, you do that. So she left the room. When she left the room, I told my daughter, take some pictures of your mama's face. I was standing there caressing her face, you know. I was just trying to figure out what he did to her. I told my daughter to take some pictures. And she took pictures of her face. So we stood there and we waited. We waited. We waited. And finally, you know, we wondered where the nurse at. And my daughter said, well, I'm finna go see where she at. And I mean, soon as my daughter put her hand on that door, the nurse popped in, pushed in, introduced herself. Her name was Jody. And I went to work on her right away. I'm like, what happened to her face? Excuse me? I say, what happened to the right side of her face? What do you mean? What are those purple and red marks on the right side of her face? What causes that? She wasn't like that. So she looks at me all panicked. Well, I'm not a doctor, but I know something about it. And normally, when the skin turns its colors like that, it's because of lack of oxygen. I looked at the kids. I'm like, because in my mind, I know he just watched her suffer and probably did God knows what to her. And so when I told her that she wasn't like that when she was at home, when we called the ambulance, she left normal. Oh, well, we were told she was picked up at home deceased. Now, I just told you I was the one that called the ambulance. So if she was picked up at home deceased, how would I have all this information? So I asked her, I said, well, where are the charts? The name of the guys that brought her in here. They just dropped her off and told us they picked her up at home deceased. What kind of now? See, even that. See, they gotta take my word for that. It was two other people in the room with me that heard what I heard. Two other people. Now this is a major freaking hospital. And you just let somebody just come drop a body off? No name, no nothing. No coroner. No coroner come talk to us. We still have yet to meet with a coroner. 2 phone calls. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to get into all of that. So I'm standing there and telling her what happened to Alice, and all she can offer is, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But coincidentally, the little oxygen thing, they had a portable one sitting in Alice's room. It's sitting over there beeping away. Ain't nothing even on it. But I'm to believe he had the oxygen meter on her finger on when she was at my house. And hear this thing beeping, there ain't nobody attached to it. So the nurse asked us, did we have a funeral home already? I told them, no, we don't have a funeral home. This kind of caught us off guard. I just say, well, I said, can we just, I'm just not trying to deal with that right now. Like I told her, can we please have a minute with my wife? Her just concern was pick a funeral home. So she left out the room. Okay, well, I'm going to give you a few minutes and I'll just come back. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's that was in your best interest. Cause just one more word, it was. Anyway, she left, and I'm standing there. I'm talking to the kids. I'm telling them, like, oh my God, I'm already thinking, oh my God, what am I going to tell her parents, man? She just talked to her mom. I'm going through all this right there, just thinking it, not talking to them, just aloud, just, this guy just murdered Alice and just dropped her off like a piece of meat. So after a while, the nurse popped her head back in. Have you came up with a funeral home yet? I shot her a look. Well, I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes. Backed out. She stayed gone for another maybe 5, 10 minutes. Then she popped back in there. I just came in to give you a couple names in case you haven't came up with a name yet with a funeral home. And you could probably pick from these two. And I took the paper from her and went back to grieving for my wife. And so I handed the paper to my daughter, and she read that it was Miller's and Mulhern. I don't know if this would have went any different if I'd have picked Miller's, but I picked Mulhern's. Why? I don't have a clue. Had I known what I know now about them, I don't suggest nobody go to them. So we ended up picking Mulhern's and stayed with Alice a little bit longer. We hadn't told the nurse yet. So we ended up, by the time we got through visiting, we went out to the nurse's station, told her, well, we picked Mulhern. And, was there any documents I can get or something turned in? And of course, she making all these excuses. Well, hold on a minute. Got right on the damn telephone. I didn't know that's what she was doing. She must have transferred Alice from out of the custody of the coroner, calling the coroner to tell the coroner what funeral home we chose so they can drop, so they can switch, custody of Alice right away. Because I had already asked the hospital for an autopsy. And they told me they couldn't give me one because they had already released Alice to the coroner. That would have had I would have to call the coroner. So when we called the coroner on the way out, this is after she got off the phone with the funeral home. We walk into the car, I called the coroner. The coroner had already released her to the funeral home. So they refused to give her an autopsy and told me I had to call the funeral home. So I beat it to the house, took Cleo home first, beat it to the house, called Mulhern. Called Mulhern, told them who I was, and they just act like I was daft or something. Like Alice was not in existence again. Hospital just did it. Now he go to funeral home act like they don't know who she is. You just picked her up. You just picked her up. So the lady left. Came back and said, oh, they're getting ready to embalm her. I'm like, what? I said, who said? I said, no, 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 no. I'm going to need you to stop that because I need to get an autopsy done for her. I tried to get it from the hospital. I told her what happened with the hospital and the coroner thing. And before I could even get home, y'all trying to embalm her. Don't even know who paying or nothing. I was like, no, no, no. I need to schedule an autopsy for her. Okay, then, well, I don't know how much they cost, but, I can put you. Let me get the. That was she said. Let me get the owner. He can kind of tell you more about it. And so I waited a little bit. Sure enough, some guy popped on there. He said, yeah, my name is Butch Mulhern. I'm on Mulhern Funeral Home." I say, yeah. So my wife was just brought there to your funeral home, and y'all was getting ready to embalm her. I want you. I don't want her embalmed. I want to schedule an autopsy for her. I told him about the hospital, this, that, and the other. And he like paused a minute and was like, well, I said, so I need to schedule one. I need to find out how much they cost. Well, I don't know right offhand, but they're pretty expensive. So I asked him again. I say, how much is expensive? How much do they cost? Well, I don't know right offhand. I can go check for you. I say, well, I'll just hold. I'd like you to check. So he came back and said, well, I can't tell you exactly how much, but hey, you're looking at about $3,500 to get an autopsy done. And I say, well, I like to get one scheduled. Huh? You, you're going to bring $3,500 up here tomorrow. Now, this is the owner of the funeral home talking to me like this. My son was in the house. So I tell him, yes, I surely am. Can you please schedule one for me? Well, you can't pay for, you can't, that's what he said, I can't pay for part of it. I say, would you please schedule my wife an autopsy? So he scheduled for the next day, told me to come in there and talk about it. We would talk about it, that, and the other. Because I had to go there anyway for some other stuff for the funeral home. So we got to the funeral home. Oh, this is pretty much the next day. So, because I'm going to break it off at when we leave and go to Michigan. Because that's a video in itself. We're going to go from there. And then we'll get back here to Louisiana. So that's when I really got after them after the 28th. But I did some research and work in between that time when we got back around the 18th or something like that. But I'm going to get into that. But when we first got to the funeral home, they end up, of course, sending a lady in. The guy didn't come talk to us, Butch Mulhern. They sent Lisa Goutreau in to handle the situation. So she came in. Of course, I'm distraught. It's only the next day. I'm trying to tell her what happened in the house, and she just didn't die. She was taken away wrongfully by somebody that hated her for no reason. Oh, we're not gonna talk about that here. We're just gonna, move on with this, try to get the information. She didn't want to talk about it, so I asked a few questions they had about Alice. Now, they asking me questions they should already have. Her address, her phone number, her whole name, her social security number. Ain't this the stuff you get when you pick up a body? Don't you supposed to have full identification of the body? So how did you get out the hospital with her then if you didn't have all this? But anyway, we sat down with her, gave her all that information. They scheduled the autopsy. She still started trying to talk us out of it. Well, I just want to, because she tried to steal us to the door. I say, you supposed to be setting up an autopsy for us? Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, I haven't got the exact price on it yet, but it's going to be about $3,500, and uh, we'll need that all in one lump sum. I was like, yeah, I already talked to the guy last night. He told me the same thing. I'm aware. I just need to find out what day you need the money and when she going and what's going to happen. Well, I just want to let you know that a lot of people get autopsies done, and when they come back, it's not the results that they're looking for, and then they're sorry that they lost their money. I was like, look, she worth $1,000,000 to me. Can you please schedule me an autopsy? My kids was there. I don't care what it costs. I'll make it happen. So we scheduled the autopsy, answered her questions about her mama's maiden name and parents, grew up, death certificate stuff. And we was out. And then from there, we, started getting ready for Michigan. Because, I mean, I ain't going to lie to you, if it wasn't for her family buried Alice. See, to be poor and black in Louisiana, people just don't realize. And I be grinding, man. So that stuff my daughter talking about, I did the bare minimum. She don't know, boy. If she said that to my face, I would slap her and knock her in the middle of next week. As hard as I've struggled, I've given the bare minimum. Yeah, that one better watch who she talking to, though. Got me twisted. You talking about they got belligerent since her mother passed? That's all right. Show me no respect when you see me in person. And this your daddy talking to you. Get it twisted. And I hope she see one of them. So fed up with people, man. But anyways, man, we started getting ready. And we ended up going to Michigan. But and then that was so a slap in my face too. If they would have saw the pictures, maybe they would have wanted to do something. Because even if you hate me, I would have wanted to know, did he do this to my sister? I want somebody to investigate this. I want to know what happened to my sister. That's how I would be. But I'm gonna give y'all a shot of what I had to live with every day. Now, when we got to the hospital, what is that trying to say? I'm gonna pull it up here. Y'all give me a second. Okay. Now, this is the left side of Alice's face. This is when I was coming in the room. This is the view that I had. Now, as I turned the corner, walked around her bed and saw the right side of her face, like I said, as Alice's left side of her face. When I got around to her, this was the right side of her face. Now, you're going to tell me if you saw somebody's face look like that and you're going to tell me this is normal, that something didn't happen to Alice? It's clear as day something happened to Alice. I don't know what he did to her, but I want to know, how could a person murder another human being and get away with it and have all these people perfectly cover it up just because it's one person? Because this one person stepped over the bounds. I say burn them all. Because this life means something. See, that's what I have to live with every day. That's what my kids have to see every day. Yeah, see, that's who I used to have as a lawyer. They couldn't even compete with these people. And I just supposed to lay down. Now, would you lay down and you have that on your conscience? Would you lay down? Tell me, would you lay down and just let it go? Huh. Well, like I said, I'm going to walk y'all through it and I'm going to show you who's responsible. I don't know if this is going to pop up. No, see, they were saying now, I don't know how these documents here got encrypted like that. But it's all good. See right there. There's her statement. See, I got all kinds of stuff we're going to go through. I don't know if y'all can see it all. Sure are. I think this is a different angle. Yeah. You gonna tell me something ain't alright with this? But she was picked up at home deceased. But yet my neighbor saw her alive. Me and my son saw her alive. And something gotta be done about this state. They just kill indiscriminately. Now see, that's not, would you stop fighting? And I done gathered all this information. Why would I go through all of this, people? But once we walk through this, it's gonna be alright. Like I said, I just want the story to be told. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Cause see, some things just can't go unrectified. Cause it's mighty funny to me that they break the law, but use the law to hide behind. Really? Okay. Okay. That's what I have to live with every day. That's what my children have to live with every day. You know, we're the only three people that witnessed that firsthand. Everybody else that saw it on pictures. Have that in your head. But yet Mayor Albritton choose to protect Rodney Schamberger, a pedophile. Don't she have children? Grandchildren? But you protect a man like that. Friday Ellis, you got children, they run right in your city. It's all right, I'm gonna put them out there. Just like I said, we got a whole horde of stuff we're gonna be going through. See, and I think, and don't think it's gonna take long. See, just like I said, here it is, clear as day. So y'all don't think I'm lying. I'm gonna read through it, and I'm gonna tell y'all what's in it, and what should have been getting done, and what wasn't getting done, and who was allowing it to happen, and why. I'm gonna show you why. This is that bogus ass report Schamberger turned in. We're gonna go through that on the next video. This is the bogus ass report Dennis Sullivan turned in, him and Allison Brown from St. Francis. We're gonna go through that on the next video. We're gonna compare what I say to y'all and what the other people that was present can verify to, and see what they wrote down on document. But this is supposed to stand. Now tell me, when have you ever seen an autopsy that looked like that? Just regular old notebook paper. You ever seen one look like that? This came to me in the email. We're gonna go through that. We all remember this. You know, this one got it all started. Yeah, this one here, this got it all started. I'm gonna get it in, get it in so you can see. Because I want you to see who these people represent. This is what these people stand for. Now see, I didn't come up with that name. That name was new to me. So I started doing research. Like, who are these people they talking about? Why are they referencing my baby to this group? What that's got to do with anything? Why is that on her paper? What that say on the top? See, I didn't put that there. I didn't put Kentucky 66 there. Then the Sullivan did. Then the Sullivan did. St. Francis Doctor. What does it say on the top? But everybody want to make like I'm an idiot. Oh, I couldn't find nothing on it. Bullshit. Bullshit. See, I didn't come up with that name. It just pissed me off when I saw it. I had to find out why. Well, these are the people the state of Louisiana represent. Now you be mindful at that Kentucky 66. Yeah, I just tracked it down. You know, I'm sick of people going around act like I ain't said nothing about what happened. See, get a real Kentucky 66. It's an actual hate group. See, I wasn't lying. I'm on. See, this the contract. I had a lawyer. But sometimes corruption, you don't know how deep corruption can go. We're gonna go through all of that. Let's hear some St. Francis paperwork that I know my wife's name should be on. That they know who she was. This here is from Oshner. See, this is the doctor that gave Alice that Majestrol. Yeah, look that up. So why would she take it? Yeah, we're gonna go through all that. Hospital code enforcement says a heart attack. Hospital says underlying health conditions. Autopsy said pulmonary embolism. Death certificates say natural causes. We're gonna go through all that. We're gonna go through all that. But for right now, I'm gonna bounce out. Y'all remember these criminals and be on the lookout for their wrongdoing, because they are all criminals. And then they got this stuff plastered all over TV, like St. Francis, like they doing so much. You should have been spending that money. Just because you're trying to spend it and get rid of it now, that don't mean nothing. I am going to stay on you people. Alice deserves justice. We shouldn't be left with that. We should. This should not be the only thing we left with. But I'm out for right now. Y'all be sweet and behave. And watch out for these crooked, racist people. The only thing we can hope for is to fight back and get it together. But I'm going to be out for right now. But I'll be posting another one. I'm going to... See, this is the hard part. I done got through that. It's just hard to relive that. And I still am caught in that loop. But I'll get at you. Peace.